Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is our Wisdom of the Sages daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and bestie and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam class. Actually, today is a special day. Today is...
Question and answer day.
It's question day. Saturday and Sunday, we sleep in till 8 o'clock. Lounge around the house. We stay up late. Me and Kaustubha party like it's 2019, and we stay up late and sleep in. No, we don't. We go to bed early. Even we generally do this show at 5 a.m. But on Saturday and Sunday, we do it especially for our Californians, our Californian crew. That's basically everybody west of the Mississippi River. Can't check in that early. And it's a great day because Saturday's question day and Sunday is special guest day. And tomorrow our special guest is Vishwambar from the Mayapuris.
Yeah.
What a story this guy has.
Incredible story.
Leading kirtan since he was literally, I kid you not, through India, walking through India with his father and like hundreds of other bhaktas, barefoot since he was 3 years old. And not just like part of the crew, leading kirtans.
I think he said 5, Raghu.
Okay, 5. You know what? I'm known
1 year old
better than it actually is. But he was going on them when he was 2. He was going on traveling in Braj Mandal Parikram. This is a big part of yoga culture. You don't hear about it in the West. We're going to talk about that. But one part is you go on pilgrimage. So how do you go on pilgrimage? Well, we fly there. We take a train there. No. The way you used to go on pilgrimages, you walk there. You walk, you do it by foot. It takes time. And in that time, you think.
What do you
Ever
think
tell you that time, Radha Swami? Have you been to Balaji?
Yeah, of course.
So Balaji is this big ancient temple in South India. And there is like an 8-hour line that you just wait on to see Balaji, to have darshan. And Radha Kund went with us, our good friend from India, and he's got always hookups and ways to, hey, don't worry, Raghunath, I'll get your whole group on the short line. And
foreigners.
So he somehow got us on the short line. That took like an hour.
For the foreigners, they let you into the shorter line. They get your passport and they give you a break.
You got to have some like special connections.
No, all you need is a passport.
All right. Well, he made it seem like he has some special in, so I just believed him. And so Radha Kund got us on the short line. By the way, first you got to walk over 4 giant hills representing the mountains of the heads of Lord Brahma. So after this very, very long walk, then you get in the 8-hour line. So
up to the hill, it's 3,500, over 3,500 steps up.
Yeah, with all pilgrims. People come there from all over India. And we got on the short line and we had darshan and it was great. And I went back and I told Radha Swami, we went to see Balaji and guess what? We got on the short line. And he goes, oh, you got on the short line. I prefer the long line. And I was like, why would you prefer being in line longer? It's like going to Disneyland and I want to be in the long line. He goes, because when you're in that long line, you just appreciate and you think and you meditate on Balaji. And then when you finally get that darshan, you are so eager. And I was like, yeah, man, my rushing around has always cheated me out of the highest thing.
We got to slow things. Everything's too fast. Now sometimes things got to slow down.
I know. I'm trying to follow your footsteps, Prabhu.
Not me. I live in the city. Come on. I have a story about that too. I'm not going to tell it now, but another day we'll tell about my Tirupati Balaji story and the line and all of that too.
A lot of good stories in Tirupati.
Yeah.
I met an incredible astrologer, predicted everybody's future. I kid you not. Everybody in my group, he had them all down except one person.
Raghu?
Okay.
We're not going into astrology today.
Okay.
We're
It's
not
a
going
good
to-
story, man.
we're not-
It'll blow your mind, but
we
I'll
don't
hold
have
back.
time.
I'll hold back, but we could do
Okay.
the astrology. We could do astrology day.
Okay, we'll put it all in one day.
Okay.
Not that I'm against astrology, but I know when you start to get your future telling stories and all that, it could go.
Past life aggressions.
It's going to go
It
there.
goes on forever. Kaustubha, I'm like a dog. I'm like a Labrador, and Kaustubha is like the master with a leash.
And you're
pulling
seeing a
me
squirrel.
down, like one of those metal choke collars. Like he won't let me stray.
Yeah, you're seeing squirrels left and right.
Okay, you want to get into some questions, my friend?
Let's do it.
Okay,
Let's set it off. Let's take a stand.
let's get it. Let's get it on.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Okay, this is a question for Kaustubha. Well, it's for us, but it's for. I'm going to let Kaustubha answer this one.
On. Okay.
It's from our good friend Nicole Seifert from Switzerland.
We all love Nicole.
Nicole's wonderful. She's been to India with us many, many times, and she's just connected. She's a connected lady. She's
Sincere,
on the show.
serious.
Sincere.
About it. Right?
On the show every day.
Yeah.
What exactly is devotional service? That's why I made you answer this one. It seems manifold and multifaceted.
Mhm.
You discussed the purport of 1:10:23, Canto 1, Chapter 10:23, and talked about devotional service at some point. Kaustubha explained about engaging the senses in devotional service, like the ears in hearing Shastra, the eyes in seeing the Lord, and the mouth in chanting, and so on.
Mhm.
I learned, for example, chanting is always devotional service, but also there's more active services one can do, like when I lived in a temple. Nicole had the good opportunity to just take time off of her corporate life and just, I'm going to live in a temple, see what that feels like.
Mm.
It was pretty cool how she did that. I did so much cleaning and cutting veggies and making garlands and brushing cows or calves.
Nice.
So I am just wondering, what is all included in devotional service? Also, what can one do in times like now? We're all isolated. Thank you very much. Great
All right.
question, Nicole.
It's great, Nicole. You know, it's sometimes you just have to step back and say, ask that very general question: what exactly is devotion? What exactly are we doing here? You
Right.
know. And so I thank Nicole for that question, and I see it as a manifestation of her sincerity to want to do things right and want to do them in the right consciousness. And these are the kind of questions that are important, you know.
Yeah.
So let's begin by saying that this term devotional service is a way that Srila Prabhupada would commonly translate bhakti, right?
Yeah.
And if you go back to, like, say a figure in the bhakti movement like Ramanujacharya, who lived exactly 1,000 years ago, when he speaks of bhakti, in general he'll speak of bhakti meaning a state of consciousness, a state of meditation, where your mind is completely connected to God. That's bhakti. So he would generally speak of it in terms of a meditation. And he had this term, what was it? Dhruvanu Smriti, that the mind is like, it's like pouring oil. Like when you pour oil, it's like this thick, you know, flow. You know, you know how it's kind of beautiful when you see oil pour sometimes, you know?
Beautiful. I watch it on a regular. I have YouTube clips. I just watch over and over.
You got a loop.
Oil pouring, search.
But so our consciousness should be like oil pouring, you know, to God, you know, steady and thick and deep like that. Now, when Prabhupada speaks about bhakti, he agrees that that is bhakti, but he speaks of it in terms of our engagement, how we engage our body and our senses so that our mind will follow them and flow towards God. So he adds, you know, he commonly uses that term service with, you know, devotional service. And so then, okay, then that means that I can, rather than shut down my senses and let go of my body and just connect in terms of my mind, which is great too. But for most of us, it's going to be very helpful to engage the body and engage the senses. Otherwise, the senses, they're going to drag us in other places. So let's engage them. We're not, you know, Ramanuja was speaking 1,000 years ago in South India, where people had much better samskars, much better qualification for meditation and all these things. And Prabhupada was speaking in the 20th century and speaking even more so to Westerners and all that. So he was really emphasizing engaging the senses, engaging the body. And not only he, it goes back in the tradition. So what concept, Nicole is saying, brushing calves, nothing nicer than brushing a calf, making garlands, cutting vegetables, cleaning the temple, all these things are engaging the senses and therefore taking one's mind in that direction. What constitutes devotional service? It's actions that are done for the enjoyment of God. So it really has to do with the attitude behind it. Two people can be doing the same exact thing, and for one, it's devotional service. It's taking their mind to God. And for another person, it's not doing that at all. Two people can be cutting vegetables, and one of them, the very activity is bringing their mind to God, and it's done for the pleasure of God. And the other person, they're not even in that consciousness at all. So let's boil it down to this. The whole attitude or understanding behind bhakti is that I live not in pursuit of my own separate, let's put this, I live not in pursuit of enjoyment separate from my divine source, but I move for the enjoyment of my divine source. And I enjoy naturally as a result of that connection. Okay, so that's called bhakti. When I do something for the pleasure, Rupa Goswami will define it that way. Actions that are done for the pleasure of Krishna without any separate motivation. That's called bhakti. And then the Bhagavatam is going to establish that it's only bhakti that gives complete satisfaction to the self. Okay, so that's our idea, that we try to move with that mentality. We try to, if I'm cutting vegetables, I'm cutting them for Krishna. I'm going to cook them and offer them for Krishna, and then I'll eat afterward. If I'm brushing a calf, I'm taking care of, this is Krishna's cow. It's a living entity with a relationship with Krishna, and in service of Krishna, I'm taking care of this cow. And in this way, we can connect everything that we do to God. And everything that we do can bring our mind to God, and that's called bhakti. Now, Nicole also asks, and what do we do like now if we're locked down, isolated? Maybe we can't engage in brushing a calf and doing other things, more active things that we could do. And I will just say that, our devotional service, I just mentioned how Ramanuja spoke of it, especially as a meditation, and Prabhupada spoke of it, especially as service. But the service is always connected to the internal. The externals in yoga, the external is always connected to the internal. So the service is meant to bring our minds somewhere. And so we need to work on both levels, the internal and the external. And so take this time. And if you find that, just because I'm kind of locked down and I can't engage in a lot of things, extra reading, extra chanting, take excellent time for that internal work, because that internal work that we do, and that's why we do it every day. Like Raghunath is encouraging everybody that comes on the Zoom platform to chant at least one round a day. We have to dedicate time that's purely internal. And then when we do the external things, our mind will more easily go there. And so then we're in this perfect place, and devotional service becomes so practical, because most of us aren't good meditators. Our minds are crazy. They're always disturbed by something. We can't focus in. But if we can engage the body in service and connect our daily activities to God, we can be in that consciousness, that meditative consciousness, even as we're doing these otherwise worldly things. And so that is devotional service. I hope, Nicole, that'll be helpful.
It was beautiful.
All right, Raghu.
That was beautiful. Beautiful question, Nicole. You are beautiful. Kaustubha, you are beautiful.
Oh, come on.
You are.
You're beautiful, Raghunath. You're beautiful.
Look closer.
You're very beautiful. Are you ready for your question?
Yes, Prabhu.
This is coming from Mike Frost via email.
Mike Frost. Good name.
Yeah. The question I have is about the condiment analogy you guys use once in a while. And that's especially you use that analogy, Raghu.
It's a good analogy, isn't it?
Well, we're about to find out, because you're going to have to explain it in greater depth.
Okay.
I have been studying Ray Long's yoga books, okay? The Key Poses of Yoga, and all his books on Kindle. is this what you're referring to as the mustard? Or is there a better source to learn yoga on my own?
Mm.
Can I connect this Bandha yoga with Bhakti yoga? I am pretty limited geographically for temples and classes, so reading your books and wisdom of the sages are my sources. Okay, Raghu, let's go deeper into the condiment analogy that you
The
used.
condiment analogy, I like this one a lot. When you study yoga in a holistic way, travel through India, you'll find that the asana portion of yoga is like a condiment to a greater meal. We say like sea salt or ketchup or chutney or mustard. It's not a meal. If I offer Kaustubha, hey, come on over for lunch, we're having mustard. It'd be weird. But in the West, we've taken the condiment and made it the meal. And then we start to break down the condiment. Oh, we have different types of mustard here. Oh, we have gray poupon, and we have yellow mustard, we have brown mustard, we have golden mustard. And we like dive into mustard world. And the interesting thing is, it's just the condiment. Or you can look at it as like, if the goal is to drive from New York to LA, I'm spending hours on holding the keys, hours on putting the keys into the ignition. Drive. So that's what the analogy is. The physical practice of yoga is, and the whole Yoga Sutras, how many verses in the Yoga Sutras, Kaustubha?
About 200, 198 maybe, or 212
Right.
or so. I forget, but it's around 200.
About 2 of them deal with asanas. And it's
Right.
not Pinchamaya asana. It is like sitting. Sit there, right? But we've ran with it. And what they've done even more in the yoga system in the West is they break down all the yogic words and terms like satya, svadhyaya, brahmacharya, and they tie it all into a physical practice instead of the bigger picture. They'll take svadhyaya, which means seeing yourself through the eyes of the sacred literature. They'll say, oh, just self-reflect, start to think about it. Or they'll take satya as, okay, you can't reach your toes. Be truthful. If you can't reach your toes, just don't try to force it. They'll take it all and put it in. It drives me insane, truthfully. It drives me insane. But the idea is that I want you to not get me wrong either. The physical practice is so powerful. It transforms the body. It can make you see the world in a different way. But it's got to be seen. That condiment is a great thing, but it's got to be with the entire meal. And the entire meal is the shifting of our consciousness. So bhakti could be used in anything, of course, in yoga asanas. But, the ABCs of yoga teachings, not just my teaching, not just the teachings of bhakti, every yogic path, the ABCs are, and when I say ABCs, like in the very beginning of every sacred literature, you're not the body. Right? Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, these are the very beginning. You're not the body. You are spirit. So the question is then, why am I doing all this up dog, down dog, jumping up and stand into a handstand? Why am I doing all that if I'm ultimately not the body? Why am I cleansing? Why am I doing panchakarma? Why am I doing marma? Why am I doing all these things? Because you're not the body, but this body is a gift. It's got to be taken care of. But the gift has to be used to give back. That's when the body becomes useful again.
Okay, let me ask you something. So are you saying now, are you getting to the meal, not the condiment, but the meal?
This is the whole meal. That in this life, we are meant to use this gift. We're supposed to maintain the gift, cleanse the gift, refine the gift, right? Mm-hmm. Shift the consciousness.
Offer the gift.
The real meal is to shift out of the me-centered consciousness. This is the ongoing theme. Materialism means I'm at the center. Spirituality is Bhagavan is at the center. And we are part of something much bigger. We are dependent on something bigger. And we are dependent on the whole. And we want to give back. Why? Not out of like force, not out of a manipulation, out of love. We want to give back to the center. And I want to see that every being is also connected to the center. So I have no enemies. This is the big plate, the big meal of Bhakti yoga. And the asanas can be an incredible part of it, unless I'm doing them for my ego or just even, you know what I mean?
So it has it's not just what I'm doing for my body, but it's how I'm relating to other people, how I'm relating to animals, how I'm relating to nature, how I'm relating to God, that's where yoga is meant to go.
For sure. For sure. For
Okay.
sure. And you could truthfully relate that, and ties into Nicole's question. You could bring that consciousness. I'm watching Krishungi from Finland right now, listening to the show Splitting Wood. You could actually do that, because sometimes I have to split wood here. And I think, okay, we're going to warm the house. The house is my ashram. People will come over to Super Soul. You know what I mean? You can actually think like that while you're doing activities in the world, or you can just be meditating on Krishna, or chanting or singing while you're doing it. Everything can be a meditation for the most part.
And that's the meal.
And that's the meal.
Okay.
Was that all right answer?
That was beautiful.
Yeah. So, but I'm not saying don't learn those things. All these yogic practices, not just physical practice, there's a lot of incredible peripheries, Ayurveda, etc. But don't tie them in with the greater meal. Don't isolate them, or else you're eating a bowl of salt.
Okay.
All right, Prabhu, can I ask you a question?
You can.
This is from
Please do.
Abir. Abir, these names we see every day. I see Abir here every day.
Abir.
And now I'm diving into like his little backstory here. Abir is 18 years old. He's only 18 years old. From Mumbai, formerly Bombay. He comes from a very spiritual family with long-standing connection with the Chinmaya mission, which is very dear to his heart. He studies Bhagavad Gita and finds Swami Chinmayananda's explanations very logical and appealing. He discovered wisdom through the sages through Raghunath's appearance on Joe Rogan podcast, and has been joining the Zune podcast and enjoying the Bhagavatam. Here's his question. Welcome, Abir. I'm glad to get to know you. My doubt and question really is this. I know the school of thinking that Bhakti followers believe that we are separate from Krishna, whereas the thinking of Swami Chinmayananda follows the line of thinking that we are all divine energy waiting to be realized and discovered. This obviously, for me, has left me a bit uncertain as to why the two lines of thinking that are in essence the same would present such a difference. Obviously, I would not expect you to even compare one line of worship to another, but it has left me questioning which style of thinking I should adopt into my life and use. Would it be beneficial for me to dip my toe into both schools of thought, Bhakti and that of Swami Chinmayananda's, and take out of each what I find beneficial? Or should I follow one path so I'm committed to only one line of thinking so confusion does not arise? In this situation that I do commit to one, what do you suggest? What do you suggest I do when such differences arise? How should I go about addressing them? Thank you, Abir. Kaustubha, will you answer that really good question?
It's a great question. I love his mood and how he's presented it. I just feel good about Abir here. I feel like he's got a good head on his shoulders, just the way he expresses himself.
Don't you wish you had a head on your shoulders like that when you're 18 years old?
Man.
Abir.
I really do. So this is a fundamental question, because followers of Vedanta generally will fall into one of two beliefs. One is that where all this leads is to realizing that everything is an illusion in this material realm, even my own individuality, even me being different from you, even me being different from God. And the goal of it all is that I lose my individuality, the illusion of my individuality, and I merge into the divine oneness and just kind of exist in bliss. And then there's another school of thought that says, no. I'm an individual, you're an individual, God is an individual, we're all individuals. We always have been, we always will be. And where all the yoga leads to is reestablishing these relationships in pure consciousness and divine love. That's where it all goes. And, if you just read the Bhagavatam, you would get the impression of the latter. And if you just read the Upanishads, you may likely get the impression of the former. Okay? So there are schools of thought. Chinmayananda, I'm not so familiar with Swami Chinmayananda. I've heard very nice things about him. There are different people that go under the names of sadhus or gurus that to be honest, I feel are really not necessarily behaving very well or very good people. I'll just say it straight. You get people that are out to cheat. You get people that are out to exploit, even in the guise of holy men or holy women or whatever. All I've ever heard from Swami Chimananda, he's actually like a sadhu, like he's a good, sincere person. And Abir says, can I take from that? And there's a saying, that we take, wherever you see truth, you should honor it. You can take truth from wherever it's coming from. And wherever you see goodness and sincerity, you should honor it. And so that's always there. But at the same time, in order to practice yoga, part of his question was, can I dip my toe in here and can I dip my toe in there? And you can dip and you can explore, and you should explore and question. That's a beautiful process. But when it gets down to like, what am I going to practice? At a certain point, you have to just make a decision. What exactly am I practicing here? And because in order for the practice to be effective, you have to focus on the goal. You have to have a very clear picture of what that goal looks like in your mind. And then with determination and strong, clear focus, you have to work towards that goal. And so that's going to require what's called sambandha jnana, the knowledge of the nature of the relationship. Is my relationship to God that I am God? Or is my relationship to God that I'm connected as a servant to God? I'm a lover of God. God's a lover of me. Those are two very different conceptions. And if you're going to work towards that goal, you have to have a clear idea of what it looks like. And so therefore, these two schools of thought, they've been debating, like going way, way back. Who understands this better? Now Abir brought up the Bhagavad Gita. And what I would suggest to Abir is a thorough study of the Bhagavad Gita can answer your question. There's one book that I will highly recommend. It's this one right here. This is a comprehensive guide to Bhagavad Gita by H.D. Goswami, right there. This is excellent scholarship where he just goes through the Gita. He makes point by point by point, and he backs him up by verse by verse by verse by verse by verse. I think if you study Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is and his commentaries on that, and if you take a good look at this comprehensive study of the Bhagavad Gita by H.D. Goswami, then I think it can help you go deep into answering that question and do that study. Get into it. The Gita's the very question is asked by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita at the beginning of the 12th chapter. Evam satata yukta ye bhaktastvam paryupasate. He asks, Tesham ke yoga vitatma. Who understands yoga better? K, tell me who's got yoga? K, that's
K.
Sanskrit for who, right?
What up?
Okay. So who understands it better? Who understands yoga better? The bhaktas, those that are satata yukta, always connected to you, and paryupasate, upasana means like through worship. The devotees are connected to you through worship, or those that are connected or worshiping the avyaktam, the unmanifest. Who understands yoga better? And Krishna's going to straight out, he's going to answer that question. And he's going to say that those that worship the unmanifest, their path is very difficult, very troublesome. Durlabha.
This isn't Kaustubha speaking. This is the Bhagavad Gita speaking.
This is the Bhagavad Gita speaking.
Not Kaustubha's opinion.
Yeah. And then he'll say, but those that are devoted to worshiping my form, to them I'm the quick deliverer from the ocean of nescience, from illusion, like that. And then Krishna will say so many things. Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti. You see, because someone may take that verse and say, okay, Krishna just answered the question. But what he's saying is, worshiping the form and the personal idea of Krishna, that's good to bring you to a certain level, and it's easier. So therefore he's saying this, it's easier to do, But then you let go of that too, because there's something beyond that. But Krishna will also say, Mata Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. There's no truth superior to me. He'll say, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, that I am the source of that divine light, not that I came from it. He'll say, Avyaktam Vyaktam Apanam. This one's heavy. Manyate mam abudhaya. He says, abudhaya, the unintelligent. Literally, budhaya means the intelligent. Abudhaya means the unintelligent, who do not know me perfectly, think that I was impersonal before. Avyaktam, and then vyaktam then became personal, right? That ultimately there's energy that's the source of everything, and and the form of Krishna comes out of that, but then goes back into that. He's saying, no, that people that don't understand it right think that. So these questions are really answered in the Gita. And if you look at that comprehensive guide to the Gita, it's so thorough that I think it'll be very helpful. So thank you for that excellent question, Abir. I suggest that you read those two books, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and A Comprehensive Guide to Bhagavad Gita by H.D. Goswami. And you know what, Abir, if you ever want, we can hook you up with some excellent people in Mumbai, right, Raghunath?
Oh yeah.
You just let us know.
Oh God, that's why these people are there. All over Mumbai. We
got so many friends. We're connected with all the monks in the Radha Gopinath temple by Chowpatty Beach, right by the Bubblenath Mandir.
Bubblenath.
So when things open up, you could go visit them if you like. Just let us know. We'll hook you up. Thank you, Abir.
We could go with that question alone, the whole class. These questions are great, by the way. Thank you guys for answering.
You could go many classes with that question, but we need to get on, and we need to move on to the next question. You ready, Rogan?
What do you got for me?
This is coming from Truth Vibration via the Discord.
Oh, Truth Vibration! You guys got to use your real names. I really want to get to know you.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Everyone's using a code name on Discord. Just say your name. We like your name. Unless you got a really bad name. There's some bad names out there. Just change it.
You're assuming that Truth Vibration is not this person's actual name.
Maybe there's something. Yeah, maybe that's their name. Truth Vibration, Prabhu.
Okay. Truth Vibration says, thank you for your commitment for doing the show, Raghunath and Kaustubha. Well, thank you for thanking us, Truth Vibration.
Or Dr. Vibration, if I don't know.
Very much enjoying being at your digital feet and soaking up the wisdom. Okay. The sages are in the pages. Truly a bold and innovative translation in this form of new media and the experience of the accessible satsang that transcends barriers. Just another East Coast other showing appreciation here from Baltimore. Okay, so we've learned something about Truth Vibration. Truth Vibration is from Baltimore. Okay. My question is, I've turned away a lot of work opportunities that no longer felt aligned in elevated consciousness. What a bold step.
Very bold.
I don't want to do something I feel is more harmful to people than good. I think a lot of people feel that. I think a lot of people, when they start to get into yoga and especially into bhakti, and they start to study these things, they can feel that. Though it feels wrong to meditate or pray for a kind of personal financial success. Yeah. So I think he's saying I'm giving up opportunities, but at the same time, I feel like, it almost makes me feel the need to pray for personal financial success because he's giving up these other opportunities. Is there any insight you can offer for someone who wants to make sure that this life is a demonstration of living truth? Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great question.
I like that a lot.
Hope I can zero in on his actual question, but the first thing that came to my mind, and Kaustubha, you're good at holding me to the actual question because I'm tangential. I just start to drift around like that dog chasing the chipmunks. The first thing that came to mind was you can't escape what you're born to do. Sometimes people are working in something they don't like and they find it frustrating. They're actually good at it, but they're frustrated with it. Gauranga Avatar, when he first came to Super Soul as a monk, he was a manager. He was a good manager. He's good at managing, but managing material world was frustrating him. And so he came and just wanted to be a monk and wanted to give up his management responsibilities and be trained in bhakti. And so when he came, the first thing we had him do was we were laying a floor in the yoga studio. Now, if you're not into carpentry and you've never done it, I'm not that good at carpentry myself. The first thing that came to his mind was like day one, and I got him like carrying lumber around and doing floors with Eric Noble, and it was just like he was just like, what the hell am I doing here? What have I done? I gave up my career to be doing floors in some place. And so what happened was, the idea is that we surrender to Krishna. We get some deep direction. Krishna, this is what I want. I'm going to have to step away from my old life sometimes drastically. But you can't escape what you're born to do. And very, very quickly, Krishna wanted to see that surrender. And very quickly, Mike started managing the yoga studio, all our retreats. He started, or Guranga, he started managing the retreats we did at the farm. So you can't escape what you're born to do. If you're born to manage, you'll manage, but you'll manage in a more spiritual way. It doesn't mean that dedicated to spiritual life means now you will dig a hole and live in that hole and meditate all day. But oftentimes there has to be that desire or that choice that was made. Who wrote this email, Kaustubha?
Truth vibration.
Truth vibration. You're going to have to make that powerful choice, which you did. And then you'll find yourself still doing what you were born to do. And it may not be in the prettier package. It might not be the highest paying, etc., but it'll be fulfilling in every other way. Nothing is worse than feeling I'm very busy doing nothing, or I'm very successful at something I hate. Is that a good answer, Kaustubha?
I think that was a great answer,
Did I
Rogan.
hit it?
Thank you for
Did I
sharing
hit
it. I think it did. You know, just as you're speaking, something else came to my mind. That I think what the Bhakti path demands of us is purity of our intention, but not, and this is a little touchy, but not necessarily absolute purity of action. Like the Gita will say, every action is covered by some fault. This is the material world. We're all in difficult situations, particularly in the day and age that we live in. So you may have a job that is not ideal, but you've got pressures and responsibilities, to handle. So maybe your activity won't be entirely pure, but if your intention is entirely pure,
Sure.
That's actually what the path of bhakti is drawing out of us or demanding of us. And so I think that's an important distinction. I think it's great that someone have the courage to say, you know what, I'm doing this one job, I'm giving up these other,
It's over.
I want to live a life that's more, directly beneficial to the people of this world. But I can also understand when someone's like, you know what, I'm in this job in this industry or that industry, and I'm not thrilled with all the things that, my industry is doing. But I'm still trying to, the money that I take from that job, I'm trying to engage it in the service of God. And this is what I know how to do and what I learned how to do. I think there's room for that and still becoming a perfected yogi in this life.
I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. There's something to be said about both, and both have their shortcomings and pitfalls, and both can be very powerful.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, it's a great question.
Thank you, Truth Vibration. Thank you, Raghu.
Next question from Harshal Gore from London.
All right.
There's a lot of people from London around lately.
Bhagavananda was telling us that he's trying to hook us up, bring us out to London, because there's a lot of listeners out there and stuff.
Let's go to London.
I would be down to go to London.
Yeah. Even though I've been Hindu all my life, Harshal says, and been more Krishna conscious in the past 5 years, I still get really confused by the different names and hierarchies of God. What is the difference in the following names?
Okay.
Paramatma, Bhagavan, Brahman, Ishwar, Narayan, Vishnu. When I'm reading these books or listening to lectures, it can be super confusing to navigate and understand the interconnections. Thanks. Much appreciated, from Harshal.
Okay. I will recommend two things, Harshal. Read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita and read this Bhagavad Gita by H.D. Goswami. I could answer it the same way. But no, this is a great question. And these are the other kind, it's a great kind of question. Like, These are the kind of questions that will arise in the mind of someone that's starting to read these books and starting to think about them carefully. You know, I don't want to just buzz through this book and get to the end of it, but I really want to understand what this means. And it can be confusing because these terms are used in different ways. You know, there's Atma. Atma can refer to the body. Atma can refer to the mind. Atma can refer to the soul. Atma can refer to God, you know. Then there's a term Paramatma, you know, Bhagavan, Brahman, Ishvara, Paramishvara, you know, Purusha, Purushottama, all these things. So I'm going to try to go through it real brief here, just to give an idea. But the first three terms used, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and Brahman. Commonly, these terms are used together, and they're used in a very important text in the second chapter of the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Shabdate. That it just, and this even goes back to Abir's question, you know, that God can be understood in three ways. Brahman refers to that divine light, that pure spiritual energy, but it's referring to the divine light that emanates from God, and that one can temporarily kind of merge into and feel a kind of oneness. The Jnana yogis, many Jnana yogis, and the term Jnana yogi can be used in different ways too, but commonly when we say Jnana yogi, they may think that that's the very goal of existence, that I am that divine light and I need to merge back into it. We call that Brahman. If you read Gita, Krishna says, I am the source of that Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. That it's the divine light emanating. But Brahman also just means spiritual energy in general. Therefore, the Atma, or we are all Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, right? Because I am spiritual energy. So now that's kind of mixing up the terms. So we have to understand when that term is being used, what's being meant, you know. And then there's Paramatma, another manifestation of God's energy, but that's God, a form of Lord Vishnu within the heart. Atma means the soul. Param is a Sanskrit prefix, which means the supreme soul. And it means that the God within the heart of every living being. So God manifests as energy spread throughout. God is everywhere. God manifests within the heart. You know, God is in the heart of every living being. And then there's Bhagavan, which means, literally, Bhagavan means, Avan means the one who possesses, and Bhag means opulences. It is speaking of Krishna, the personal form, that you can also know God as a person. And so Bhagavatam is going to establish that Bhagavan, that this personal form of Krishna, is the source of Paramatma and the source of Brahman. Also Gita, that's all there, right? And the Bhagavad Gita. So that hopefully that helps with that. Ishvara literally means controller. It's generally a term used for God. In yoga tradition, generally it's referring either to Lord Vishnu or to Lord Shiva. Anyone that is controlling anything can be called an Ishvara, but especially when we mean it as like that original Ishvara, like the beginning of the book, the Brahma Samhita says Ishvara, and again, you get that, like we said, Atma and Paramatma. It'll say Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is not just the Ishvara, but he's the Para Ishvara. He's the supreme controller. Like we got little Rooney over there, he's in his chair, and then next to him he's got Raghu, and Raghu does a bit of, I'm not sure who's the controller in this case, who controls. You're muted, Raghu, but Raghu is saying it's, but in one sense the father can control the son, you know, but then the father's also got controllers, people that control him, and ultimately if you follow the controllers all the way back, you get to Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So Ishvara means controller. Narayana and Vishnu, they both refer to the same. Narayana, you know, both of these terms are commonly used to refer to Lord Vishnu. And that means that Krishna, Bhagavan, is that boy that's running around the forests in Vrindavan, engaging in intimate, loving pastimes as his full-time business. But when it comes to maintaining the material worlds and so on, he expands as Lord Vishnu or Narayana. And these forms take care of business in this material world. They also have their place in the spiritual realm too, where they're worshipped with reverence. But the Ishvara Parama, Krishna, he's always engaged just in intimate, loving pastimes, not without all the awe and reverence. So hopefully that helps with these terms. I want to say that if you look carefully, you see like there's the word Atma. right? That means the soul. Then there's Paramatma, the supreme soul. There's Ishvara. Then there's Paramishvara. So we're all controllers, but Krishna is the Paramishvara, you know, or Ishvara Parama. There's like, say the word Purusha, which means, it means many things, but it can mean like the soul or a person. And then Krishna's Purushottama, the highest person or the ultimate person. So, you know, there's Brahman, it means spiritual energy. Then there's Parabrahman, you know, that's the supreme spiritual energy, or Krishna, like that. So these terms, as you read and understand the fundamentals of the philosophy, it'll begin to snap into place what's being referred to exactly by this term. And so the more immersion you do in it, I think the more that it'll become clear. And Harshal, thanks so much. Great hearing from you. Hope to meet you in London someday.
It's
And I hope that was
confusing
helpful.
sometimes, you know, reading.
Yeah.
There's so many books and so many, it's confusing. Because
Yep.
do a very lucid, great answer.
Well, now it's time for your lucid, great answer. You ready?
We'll see about that.
Okay.
See
This
what-
is.
By the way, I just want to make a public statement.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say stupid things out of my mouth. Sometimes stupid
Me too.
things flow out of the mouth and I feel bad about it. And I apologize in advance. And for previous things I've said that might have been offensive or rude, it just sometimes flows out, and it's spontaneous, and things are going spontaneously. And now everything's recorded so they can hold you. Oh, you said this. Please forgive me if I said anything. You know, I'm not so bright. You know that. I try to warn people in advance. I say, listen, I'm not so smart. And they say, oh, come on, you're smart. And I say, no, serious. I'm trying to do you a favor here. I'm trying to tell you where I'm at. But so I always want to say, if I make any offenses in advance, I want to say, I am sorry. And I'm open to encouragement and self-betterment. So thank you. I just want to share.
Well, I may as well take this opportunity too then.
Come on. You color in the lines, Kaustubha. You know that.
No. Okay, but I got a tough question for you now. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to, it's a long question. I'm going to have to condense some of it a bit. This is coming from Jason from the UK, another UK person.
Okay.
He says, basically what he says is that for the last 4 years of his life, there've been a lot of changes, kind of spiritual changes. He calls it a spiritual metamorphosis. And where he's really trying to go deeper into a spiritual path. It's a bumpy road. It's not easy, but there's a challenge. It's a challenge I hear from a lot of people. His challenge is that his partner, who he's been living with for 15 years, is not on the same spiritual, is not particularly interested in spiritual path. They also
Get rid of him.
Slow down. And they also have two beautiful young children that they're taking care of together. But, you know, as the time goes on, there's a lot that he wants to talk about. There's a lot that he wants to share, but his partner is not so interested in sharing on that level. It makes things difficult and frustrating. Okay, that's a summary of what was written. Let me read a bit now from his actual question. I think anything existential, his partner is not so interested in hearing about, but he feels a deep yearning to contemplate these things, go into them, discuss them. Right. His partner is a very good person, kind, selfless, generous, very good mother, but there's a tension and a stuck feeling. You know, and you know that if people feel that when you get that surge in you, that's it. I want spiritual life. That's what life. But you're in a position, whether it's for your occupation or your family or some of that, this stuck feeling, I think, is a common one. Okay. I listened to Raghunath in that episode talk about how exhausting it can be as a father, a parent, and I can empathize. You have to sacrifice a lot. There are things I'd like to be doing, but I can't because of family commitments. I find it hard to meditate or do any spiritual practice when I'm at home, for example. Sometimes I feel like I'd be better off.
Get rid of the kids, get rid of the wife. That's a very simple plan here.
Sometimes I feel like I'd be better off living alone. This way I could devote more time to Krishna and do things I want to do that make me happy. But my love for my family keeps me at home. Okay, we're wrapping it up now. I understand that grihastha in the ashrams is a family commitment, And I was wondering if you could tell me something more about this. You know, how does being a grihasta, how does being a householder become an ashrama? I just wanted to get your opinion, I suppose, or see if anyone else can relate to this at all. I think a lot of people can. It's something I've kept to myself because I don't quite think anyone who hasn't felt the spiritual call can understand what I mean. Any thoughts on this would be much appreciated.
That's the question. This is the
big question.
Great
big
question. I'm going to play deeply sarcastic just to make the point more colorful and more exact. Every time you get stuck, you leave that person and find someone new. You keep things fresh all the time. Anytime that person causes a problem in your life, you leave them, find someone new. You have multiple partners. Your kids drive you crazy. Get rid of the kids. You know, you got to sometimes point it out how extreme that is. And that feeling of, I can't do this. This person's not linking up with me. There is a power in commitment. That's why every tradition all over the world emphasizes commitment. And especially you hear it all over Vedic literature, these vratas, these vows, these samskaras, they're in place for us to get over our whimsical mind. They're in place for us to go internal. The world's never going to work out exactly how I want it. I've been trying to change the world and I refuse to change myself. The metamorphosis starts not with my husband changing, my wife changing, my kids changing. It starts with me changing. You know, the old be the change in the family, be that change, be that lighthouse. The best way if you really want to persuade someone, right? It's not to like get them in a headlock. It's to be a perfect example of what you'd like other people to be, and trade in those expectations of others for appreciations. We say that a lot on the show. Trade in your expectations for appreciations. My mind goes right for what they're doing wrong, and it doesn't go for what they're doing right. When I start appreciating what people do that is right, then all of a sudden it changes the dynamic. Otherwise, my sniffer is always going for, now she's doing this wrong, and now these kids are doing that wrong. And it's bad stinking thinking when I start thinking what other people are doing wrong. What are they doing right? And my real work, my real Himalayan mountain range that I have to climb is my own personal shortcomings. And if you're in a marriage, especially, I say this, you should accept that that's where you are, and that's where God put you for your work to be done. Don't be whimsical, especially when it involves other people's lives. You radically start to change people's lives around you. If you're single, it's a different thing. Then you start to realize, like, who I want to be in 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, who I want to be. And you start to discern, like, what will this person be like for a match? It's almost like different lessons at different stages of your life. What do you think about that, Kaustubh?
That was a very strong answer. That was not at all wishy-washy. I think that was, and what I really felt is that's coming from a place of experience. So it kind of blew me away there, Raghu.
What's interesting is the more I want to blame everybody and every circumstance. I've been married not super long, 15 years. It's my 15th year of marriage, and got 5 kids, raised 5 kids together. And every commitment is tough. Any commitment, going to the show, listening to the show in the morning, anytime that we're committed to something. Why? Because the mind and the senses want to do something else on a regular basis. We don't like to be committed. The mind doesn't want to be committed to anything. It wants to be committed to sense gratification. And so that's why these are highlighted in Vedic thought, because you work through your problems. It's powerful.
I think that was,
and if you're single, it's a different thing, because then you start to realize, then you start to work on, who do I want to share my space with? Who do I want to let in my life? And sometimes we have to start to raise the bar, and we start to get into this whole thing about, I'll take anybody. And sometimes it reflects back on our own self-worth or some self-doubt, sometimes there's self-loathing. We'll take anybody, and we allow all these crazies in our life. You got to raise the bar. You got to raise the fence. You got to have like a doorman. Nope, can't come in. Nope, no, you're not allowed in. You got to there's certain people you don't allow in your life. They have to become qualified to date you. You know why? You're special. You're incredibly worthwhile. You're a child of God. You have a divine, right? You have a divine bloodline. Don't cheat yourself. Don't let any crazy in your life. Is that okay?
Nice. Now back to the dating advice. Love that stuff. I think we're out of time, Raghu, but I think that was a great answer. Thank you for that.
Man, there was a few more. I feel bad. That quick one from Lauren Carmen. I enjoy getting up at 5 a.m. for this live Zoom, but should I be getting up earlier to do japa? The answer to Lauren, yes. Wake up early. Wake up earlier. That's not even a question. What do you think I'm going to say? Get up earlier.
5 o'clock is late.
One more from Martine is, when do you get up? Kaustubha, when time do you get up?
I'll tell you something. Since this lockdown, it's crazy how early at 8 o'clock. I'm like, I am falling asleep.
Yeah.
And I'm getting up at crazy early hours. It's like usually about 2:30, sometimes even earlier,
That's the old school. I've been getting up at 3:30. And if I sleep in, it's till 4. And then I feel really guilty. What am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? I'm in social Maya. But I only need 6 hours of sleep. So if I can get up at 3 or 3:30 and go to bed at 9:30, it's not a big deal for me. Depending on
about 10 a.m. I take a little 15-minute nap. It's just like,
you know what? I love naps. Not a lot.
Not a lot.
A 10-minute nap. 10 minutes and I'm great.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. And I'm really excited for guest day with Vishwambar.
Next time we do this, we're going to have the man himself.
Yeah, the man himself, who's behind this picture. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. And I want you to tell all your friends, if you're listening here today, especially on Zoom, I want you to post the thing that we posted on our Facebook page of the flyer, and post that all and get people to listen to. It's going to be on Facebook Live tomorrow too, Mara?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And thanks for everybody listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all that stuff. Please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It really makes a difference. If you're listening to on Zoom, welcome. Start to get into some japa, Zoom people. 1 round a day, that little commitment of sitting and meditating the Maha Mantra, very powerful. It'll make you hear this stuff more. It's powerful stuff, and it opens you up to hear transcendental truth. Thanks for everybody on Zoom. We had over 120 people, I think, today. And
134 at one point I saw.
134. By the way, Patreon is a community-supported podcast. If you like what we're doing and you're getting something beneficial out, please support us at patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. It helps me and Kaustubha and Mara really focus on this stuff to give you valuable content and give more time to it. We're really grateful for everybody that's part of it. Come here, Rooney. We're going to sing. This kid is making me more spiritual. You're helping me become tolerant and loving. All the parents, shout out to all the parents out there. Shout out to all the parents with teenagers out there. Shout out to all parents who are losing their mind out there, but know this is good for them. Woo! Thanks to everybody who joined our Zoom class late. If you want to join us on Zoom, you've got to email Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Also, questions for next week, wisdomofthesages@gmail.com. We've got some great guests coming too. We got a whole line of cool guests. Wow! Wait, if you're here, you gotta dance, kid. It's only dancing here. Now, if you're new to live, this is where we actually start clapping. Doesn't matter where you are. I don't care if you're driving an 18-wheeler. And you got to lip sync.